Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Detroit Red Wings franchise mode here in NHL 21. So in last episode, we started up simulating the season. We also had free agency, and we are 19, 18, and 4, and we're off to a pretty damn good start this year. I would say it could improve a little bit, but we are currently in a wild card spot with 42 points, so we are making a lot more of an improvement from last season. It could be because we brought in Kari Savonen in free agency, and he's on pace for almost 60 goals, which is nuts, especially considering he's like 37 years old, I think, now. But the only problem with that is there is two teams on our tail in the Penguins and the Hurricanes. So we got to start winning a lot more games. We are in the right direction right now, 6-2-2 in our last 10. So hopefully that could keep up for the rest of the season. And yeah, hopefully this team can end up making the playoffs. If not, then it's not the end of the world, but we are running a little bit low on time to actually win another Stanley Cup. Now we are going to be making one trade in this episode, and it's more just to give us a little bit more of a strength in terms of our bottom six, because at the moment our top six is pretty good plus minus wise, but you go to like our third line and the plus minus isn't that great, same with the fourth line. So I am going to improve this a little bit by bringing in a centerman to play here, and Belanger would go to the wing, Cialfito would go down to the fourth line, and we're going to be getting rid of Gove, and I think that would help out our team a little bit defensively. Also, Hobbs would get moved to the fourth line, or to the side on the fourth line, and I think, yeah, just it will help our team a little bit. So let's make that trade in a little bit. But yeah, we've been basically flip-flopping our defensemen in Stewart and also in Stapleton, giving both of them an even amount of ice time. I don't like scratching both of them, so like I have to keep alternating between the two of them, because obviously one of them is going to eventually lose morale, and Stewart's a piece of this team that needs to stay here for now until he retires at least, maybe. And then Stapleton is this guy I don't really want to trade away. So yeah, that's basically why I keep flip-flopping them every single month, so that each of them will probably play around 41 games this season by the end of it, so it should be pretty interesting. But anyways, let's make that trade that I was just mentioning. So we are going to go to proposed trade, and I believe it was with the Carolina Hurricanes, this trade. So it's a team that's actually kind of chasing us in the standings. Yeah, it was. So we are going to be trying to acquire this blood-off dude. He's in top 9 forward, but he's an 81 overall at 28. He's only signed for one more year, which is nice. So we won't have to technically pay him in this season at all. Well, actually, we will have to pay him this season, but we won't have to pay him until the off season. And then maybe he gets let to go to free agency, but he's more of like a bottom 6 type of guy. Not really a fantastic point producer, a pretty decent one, I would say, for the most part, but not a fantastic one. He's got 213 points in 357 games, mostly assists, so he's more of a playmaker than anything. But one thing that I really like is his face-off stats. He's got 90 face-offs, and yeah, I think that could definitely help us out and make us a better defensive team if we have a guy that can win face-offs down there. Because in his career, he has a 55.56 winning percentage on face-offs. And yeah, he throws a decent amount of hits, blocks some shots too as a forward. So I think he's a good bottom 6 option to have for our team. And like I said, he's on their trading block and he's only signed for 1 year, so might as well. And we are basically just going to be giving up Gove, wherever Gove is. I think he's a right winger, right? Yeah, Gove. He's the starting piece in this deal. They don't want him, but we need to get rid of a roster player. And then also, we are going to be trying to throw in a 4th round pick into this deal. If we could get it for less, that'd be nice, but I think a 4th rounder should be able to get it done, because that shows more value on their side, or on our side, than their side. So Gove and a 4th for Bloodoff. Will this go through? That is rejected, so apparently we need to maybe add a little something, which I am fine with adding, like a 7th round pick to this deal, because we don't really need a 7th rounder. So 4th and 7th in Gove for Bloodoff, that is accepted. So that is a pretty good trade, I think, for our team. It definitely will help us out in terms of winning faceoffs, which is important. Obviously, it sucks for some players like Caden Matthews and stuff like that to trade away Gove, but I think it makes their team a little bit better. So we will move Belanger to the wing, move Cialfito down to the 4th line, and then we'll keep Hobbs at that center spot, I think, and we'll put Bloodoff in here. He dropped down to an 80, which is a little weird, but that line does still have good chemistry because Bloodoff is also a good fit for our third line. So I just think this is going to make our team a little bit stronger than before. If need be, we could always take Blood off center, and we could always put in Belanger, because Belanger is not bad at face-offs either. And yeah, kind of just flip-flop around our lines, but I think that will make our team a little bit better. If need be, we could always swap Barker and DeKaiser around and stuff like that. It's not that Salfido has been a bad player, but we need to kind of adjust that bottom six a little bit and change it up. So that is our lineup, and that's the only trade we're probably going to make in this episode, unless the deadline has something we want to trade for. But we need to kind of take advantage of having Savonin in our lineup, because Savonin could end up retiring at the end of the season, and if we lose Savonin, then our team is going to go through a tough time. Now, Savonin is actually a better fit on our second line, which is interesting, but I don't really want to give Dika top line time yet, so I'm going to leave it the way it is, considering that top line's been producing really good. But if we need to, we could always change those two around. And yeah, so that's our trade we're going to make. Let's sim more of the season and see if this team could stay in the playoffs. And if we do make the playoffs, hopefully we could go somewhat decently far. It's a little bit of a stretch saying that, because this team hasn't made the playoffs in a few years, but let's go to this game against the Ottawa Senators on the 30th and see if we can get some wins together. We start off with 2 wins in this episode, which is great. We do lose the next game, and then we get offered Voutilainen and a 4 for a second and a third. I don't really need to trade for another forward, I don't think. We lost a couple games in a row, but we won one against Tampa. So we're still a little bit of a streaky team right now at this stage. We are 22, 22, and 4. Now we're not in a wildcard spot with 48 points. Yikes. Last playoff team has 55 points. Yikes. Okay, so the Penguins have really jumped us and have the same amount of games played, which is not good. We're 7 points back of them now. So there's a good chance we might end up missing the playoffs at this rate. And Savonin's got 35 goals in 48 games. Obviously, I still want this team to do as good as they can, so I think we'll probably just end up still simming the rest of the season and maybe not making any more trades, just because we want to see how this team plays out. I really hope Savonin doesn't retire, even though he probably will, because if Savonin doesn't retire, then we still could have a good goal scorer maybe for the second or third line next year, because he will decline if he doesn't retire. But yeah, he could still hit like 60 goals this year, but who knows if that's going to be the case. So let's continue to simulate to a day before the deadline, but I really hope this team can start, all of a sudden like win like 10 games in a row and get into the playoffs. That'd be really nice, but I'm not assuming it's going to happen, because we are still a team that's just coming out of a rebuild to an extent. But there's 2 wins in a row. There's a loss, another loss. There's a win though. Bloodoff has now been injured, so of course our trade acquisition gets injured pretty early into his time with us. So we'll move Belanger back to center, and we will throw in Nikita Alexandrov. There we go. But we're winning a lot of games as of lately. That's good. We actually might be able to get ourselves kind of close back into the playoffs if we could beat divisional teams, which I really hope is the case. So Alexandrov needs to go back out, and in comes Bloodhoff. There we go. There's a loss to Toronto. Game against Montreal is a win, and we are just outside of a wildcard spot now, I think. We have 65 points, and the Penguins have 66. We are almost back into that wildcard spot again. The Canadiens are still close to us as well, but it's basically a race between us, Montreal, and Pittsburgh. We do got a game coming up against Pittsburgh on the trade deadline, so that's going to be a pretty enticing game, I would say. Savonin is up to 40 goals in 61 games. If he hits 60 goals this year, that's a career high from him, which is pretty crazy that he's doing this at 36 years of age. Like, this guy's absolutely a machine. Like, in terms of all-time goals right now, he's probably now 3rd all-time in goals, I would assume. Let's take a look at that for fun. NHL-wise and all-time goals, he's very close to passing Nathan MacKinnon. Once he passes Nathan MacKinnon, he's only behind Gretzky and Ovechkin. I don't think he's going to pass Ovechkin unless he plays till he's like 40. But even if he plays till he's 40, we will never find out, because this franchise mode won't last that long. So, wow. Yeah, this is a crazy year from Savonin. Just hoping he could keep it up the entire year. And yeah, hopefully we could get into this playoff spot, because we are pretty damn close. So let's advance today and get into this trade deadline, and then see what's available. If there's anything available, we might make a trade. If not, it's not the end of the world, because we don't really necessarily need to make trades. And we lose in a shootout to San Jose, but that still gives us a point, which is crucial. So trade deadline wise, there is some pretty good players. Brzgalov in Carolina, that's a franchise level player, but obviously I'd have to give up like 4 first round picks to get somebody like that, I would assume. Like they actually want a top 2 defenseman. Like I could send them bigs, but I'm not going to do that because, yeah, just it doesn't make sense really. But yeah, I don't think we're going to make any trades. Hey, look, it's Amir DeKaiser, a former player. We're getting offered a first we sending away a first and a second for Mapletop, a third, a fourth, and Quirk. I don't like Quirk's contract, or else I would be probably into that to an extent, because Mapletop looks like he's maybe a decent player, but I don't really want to take on Quirk's contract. So thank you anyways, though, Nashville. I'm not going to take a look at that. What else we got in here? Almquist. I don't really know what else I could pick up to make this team better. And I don't really want to give up our first round pick, considering we might miss the playoffs still at this rate. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be making any more trades. I think that only one was for Bullet Off, and I don't think we're going to make any more unless we get offered something I can't refuse. Now, it's interesting because Philippe Guérin, our former player, is on the block. The only thing is he doesn't really, like, he's making a lot of money. I think we'd be over cap if we tried to trade for him. I also don't know where I would slot him in. So, but yeah, I think I'm going to just, yeah, I'm not going to make any more trades, I don't think. I don't think it's necessary for our team, especially with the risk that we might miss the playoffs. So I just don't want to take that chance to give up like our first round pick and then we miss the playoffs or something by a little bit, and then all of a sudden it becomes like a first overall pick all of a sudden, because we never won the draft lottery before. So okay, so we have 66 points in 62 games. The Penguins have 66 points in 61 games. If we win this game, we'll pass them in the standings, which is nice. This might be one of those games that decide who ends up making the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. And then there's also a crucial game against Montreal, who's trying to chase us. So let's go to the 15th and see if we can continue winning some games, because we've been pretty good as of late. We do beat the Penguins, but we do lose to Montreal, and then have 2 more straight wins. We're getting points in overtime. We're going to make the playoffs, I think, at this rate. As long as we don't drop like 8 straight games. We have now 80 points in 71 games. The Penguins have 74 and 70. So we have a 6-point advantage in 1 more game played than them. We're in a pretty good spot right now if we keep on winning games. I'm very much enthused with how this team has been performing. It just be by adding somebody like Savonin. Like, if we would have added Savonin last year, I think we could have made the playoffs, but Montreal took him instead. Montreal's got 74 points right now, so they're 6 points back of us. Okay, let's just continue assimilating and see if we can make this postseason. Because I think right now, if we just keep on getting points, and we have a very good chance we're going to make it. As long as we don't lose a lot in a row. Garrison's been injured, so that is a little bit concerning, considering Garrison's one of our better players. I think I'll just throw Alexandrov in there, because Alexandrov probably fits there decently. Yeah, he does. Okay, good. But yeah, that's a little bit of a big blow to our roster. Hopefully Alexandrov can step up decently with Garrison out for a little bit. We lose to Montreal. We lose to Washington, which is not good, but Garrison is back already. Don't know if it was because Garrison was injured or what that we lost those 2 games. So Garrison is back. Let's continue to assimilate. There's a 5-2 win and a 7-2 win, and then another loss. We're now 39-30-8. And we are in still a wild card spot with 86 points. The Penguins have 83 points, and they've played 1 more game than us. It's a tight race. This game against the Penguins that we have coming up is a pretty big game. If we beat them, I think we get close to clinching. We have how much games left? 5 games left on the season. Let's see what happens against the Penguins and the Islanders. Come on, boys. We win 8-1 against the Penguins and lose 5-3 to the Islanders, but that win might have clinched us a playoff spot. No, it didn't yet. 88 points in 79 games. Penguins have 83 and 79. We are really close to clinching a playoff spot now. Just got to get these last few games done. And we still haven't clinched yet. Game against Buffalo on home ice, and we lose 4-2. Still haven't clinched yet. Come on, guys, don't go on a losing streak at the end of the season, please. Penguins have 85 and 80. We have 88 and 80. It's getting close. Come on, Toronto, lose to us, please. Toronto's a good team, too. And we got 2 games against them. Come on, please win. We lose 1-0. But we do clinch a playoff spot, so the Penguins lost their game. And we are making it back to the playoffs just by the skin of our teeth. But who knows, maybe that's a good sign, because maybe we could be that cheese team that goes on to being a very good team in the playoffs. And we lose our win our last game of the season, so we finished with 90 points, which was 13 points back of the Maple Leafs, who finished just above us. But we make the playoffs, which is great. Let's just advance a few days to get this season done, or advance a day to get it done. There we go. Let's take a look at our player stats and team stats for the season, and then we'll see who we're going up against in the first round. It's great to be back in the playoffs. Hopefully we can get that cup, because that would be nice. So Matthews, 93 points in 80 games, so adding Savonin to that top 6 really helped him out a lot, because obviously him being a pure playmaker and Savonin being a pure shooter. Yeah, that was definitely the best season for Matthews in his career since his 90-point season. That was the best season of Matthews' career since his 90-point season. That was like 6 years ago, so long time coming on that front, but very happy with how Matthews played this year. Glad to see his morale back up as well. Pau had 54 points. Belanger had 42 points. Pretty solid from Georges Belanger in his second season. And pretty solid from Pau. He's consistently like a 50-60 point player. I like that. Bloodoff, 34 points in 77 games. With us, he had 15 points in 36 games and was a +3. So I think he was a good addition for our bottom 6. He also won almost 60% of his faceoffs. So definitely helped us out in that area. Hobbs had 32 points in 82 games, pretty good, and Wisnowski only played 3 games with 2 assists. I actually forgot to put Stapleton back in the lineup. I just realized, goddamn, it's not good, because Stapleton's probably going to complain about his ice time a little bit. Savonin had 92 points in 82 games, 50 goals from him, so he hits 50 for the 8th time in his career, I believe. Didn't hit 60 goals, but still 50 goals at 36 years of age is definitely an accomplishment. And then also, since he's hit 50 goals, he's now had a total of, 5 50-goal seasons in the last 7 years, which is nuts. Crazy. Isaac Dika, 53 points this year, 27 goals, which I think, yeah, he had that exact total last year, but more points and a better plus-minus, so Isaac Dika is getting better, and he probably will be on our first line next season if Savonin retires. And then in terms of our right wingers, Dingman had 84 points, which is a pretty good total. His best total in a long time since the same year that Matthews had a lot of points. And then Garrison, 59 points. That's a pretty good year from him. Not as good as last year, but still pretty good. Cialfito, 31 points in his rookie season, which is pretty good for the amount of ice time he got, because he was playing like 4th line and 3rd line a little bit. Barker, 30 points, picked him up in a trade with Carolina. Was it in the... Yeah, it was with Carolina at the draft last year for a 7th round pick. And then DeKaiser, 15 points. Alexandrov, 3 assists in 10 games. Defensively, Biggs had 39 points in 78 games. Wall, 30 points. Pretty impressive considering he is dropping off a lot and he probably will retire soon. But 30 points from him. He's now at 751 career points in 1,441 games. Yeah, he's almost at 200 career goals as well. And then Lilia, 29 points, not too bad from the 19-year-old defenseman. Yeah, that's a pretty good rookie season. Hopefully he continues to develop pretty well. And then Hartikainen, 22 points at a +14. Samson, 15 points +10. Looks like a lot of our young guys are doing pretty good. And then Stewart, 10 points and a +10. Stewart adding to his great plus-minus total, which is now at +183. And Stapleton barely played this year, and he lost a lot of morale because I forgot to put him back into the lineup. So I think I might start him in the playoffs over Stewart, which is a little weird. But I think I need to do that because or else he's going to complain even more. And I don't want him to all of a sudden want to be like dealt or something. Goalie-wise, Stevenson was not too great, but he wasn't terrible, and Turnstrom was right around the same. So both these guys kind of alternated time. It seems like Turnstrom actually got to play more than Stevenson did, which is kind of weird. Entire league-wise, let's take a look at those points. Who led the NHL in points this year? It was Valahady, who was that franchise-level guy that won in the same year's draft as Isaac Dika did. He had 127 points this year on a team that just finished above us by like 10 points. So that's nuts. And then Ken Blacker of Montreal, who missed the playoffs, 105 points, and Harold Ho had 100 points. Best goal scorer this year was Valahady with 66. Schmidt's up there at 55. But Savonin finishing top 10 in goal scoring, which is great to see. And then in terms of our defense, or not our defensemen, but the entire league defensemen, Mika Yolonen led with 86 points in 82 games. Hoffman up there as well. Not too bad. Goalie-wise, the best goalie for wins this year was a three-way tie between Boyer, former goalie of ours, Alexei Punovs, who won a cup last year, I think, and Colby Castles. Most shutouts this year by a starter was Nico Puka, Fabian Arcobello, and yeah, that's pretty much that. Best save percentage by a starter was Punos with a 916, and best goals against average by a starter was Alan Redmond of the New York Islanders. Hey, look, Francis Nguyen actually had a really good season as a backup in Calgary. 5 shutouts in 20 games. Jeez. Maybe we should have kept him around. And then best rookie this year, let's just take a look at that. Francois Ouellette of the New York Rangers with 68 points. And pretty much that's that. Okay. Interesting season for us. Let's take a look at how we did in terms of goals for and all that. Hopefully we're the cheese team that could do some damage in the playoffs. Goals for per game. In terms of goals for per game, we were 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17th. So we weren't a very great offensive team. We were 17th in the NHL, but we made the playoffs. So I'll take that. Means we're a good defensive team, I guess, to an extent. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14th. Yeah, we're 14th in terms of goals against. So a better defensive team than offensive team. Power play percentage was not actually that bad. Did I see that right? Yeah, our power play was maybe around mid-table at 22.3%. And our penalty kill was not very good, so our special teams do need some work. 78%. Actually, that's right around mid-table. Kind of surprised that 78% is that high up. We had 6 short-handed goals this year, which was one of the most in the entire NHL, though. So we scored a lot of short-handed goals. Interesting. Now, who are we playing in the first round? It's probably going to be a very tough team. It's probably going to be Florida, right? I'm pretty sure. I would assume it's going to be Florida. No, it's going to be the Rangers. Oh, man, this is definitely going to be very tough. Because the Rangers have Damian Hamilton, who's that guy that scored a ridiculous amount of goals in his first few seasons. He's kind of slowed down since, but they finished 52, 25, and 5. Just watch us be the cheese team that beat this Rangers team. If that is the case, that would be pretty awesome. But it is going to be probably pretty damn tough. Like, if we look at the standings comparison first, before we actually take a look at their roster. Eastern Conference-wise, they had 109 points, tied with the Islanders. They had actually less wins than the Islanders, but they got first because, I guess, the OT losses, maybe? They had more OT losses than losses that, yeah, probably it's that reasoning. But they scored 3.68 goals per game. We scored 3.33, so they're way better offensively. They're also way better defensively. A little bit better on the power play, not by a whole lot. And then penalty kill wise, they're a little bit better as well. Now the question is, what do their roster look like? I know they've went through a lot of changes in the playoffs since, because Kotkaniemi and stuff like that was there. Otto Roddy as well, but both of them retired since then. So I know they have Damian Hamilton still, but I don't really know who else they have. So here is their lineup. So, yep, Damian Hamilton, 25 years of age. This guy is fantastic. Signed for 5 years at $14 million. But as you can see, this guy is a crazy goal scorer. He's never scored less than 27 goals, and since his second season, he's never scored less than 40. He's already got 425 career goals in 651 games. Yeah, this guy's absolutely nuts. Unfortunately, we won't be able to see his entire career, but yeah, this guy's a machine, and it's going to be tough to contain him. We also got Reese Galvin and Jaden Fair, who's been with the Rangers apparently for quite a long time. So yeah, it's a very good first line. Fair and Hamilton. Galvin, I guess, would just put up a decent amount of points because he's with these two guys. 70 points this year. Second line wise, they have Clayton Zajac, Vasily Ponomarev, who we've played multiple times in the playoffs, I think, before with Florida. And they also have Matthew Malhotra. So I wouldn't say their top six is fantastic, but obviously when you have like Fair and Hamilton in there, and then Zajac, I guess, Galvin, then yeah, this is a pretty damn good top six, even though this 81 is a little bit of a weak player. Third line, they have Francois Ouellet, who's not the Ouellet we used to have, I'm pretty sure, right? Yeah, it's not the same Ouellet. That guy was the rookie of the year, wasn't he? Yeah, that was the guy that put up 68 points, and he doesn't even look like he's that great of a player, but he's got good attributes. They also have Gavin Biggs, so center-wise, they're very good. They also have Bobalev, and in fourth line-wise, they have Ruslan Kabanov, Matt Schustrom, and Mikhail Kruger. So forward-wise, they are fantastic because they got good center depth. They got really good wingers on the top six and somewhat on the third line as well. Yeah, that's definitely a scary forward core. Defensively, they have Philip Pock. They also have Nasir Hawes. So defensively, they're definitely a lot weaker. I think we actually are better defensively than they are, which is weird to say. And then they also have Thomas Larson, our former defenseman, after all these years. How did he play this year? 28 points in his first season with the Rangers. But it's going to be weird to play him. And then they also have Marco Rask, who I believe was a Senator player at one time. Wasn't he? No, he was with New Jersey. I think we played him when he was in New Jersey a couple times. They also have Caden Penner and Nicholas Landeskog. So defensively, it's not the best defensive core, but Pauk and Rask are pretty good, and then Larson's pretty decent. The other ones are more like top six defensemen. So their defense could use some work, but it's not terrible. And then they obviously have one of the best goalies in the league as well in Cedric Boyer, who, when they are a very good team, has won a lot of games. He's 403, 185, and 37 in his career. That is a ridiculous win-loss ratio. And then he's also got 46 shutouts, 910 save percentage, and a 2.7 career goals against average. And in his playoff numbers are pretty good as well. Obviously winning the Stanley Cup there in 2037. Almost winning a cup there in 2036 as well. But looks like they've been a first-round exit the last 2 years. And then their backup goalie is also pretty good in Francois Bourret. In terms of depth, oh yeah, they have Michael Wong, who we traded there. Interesting. He played 34 games with them in 2039, but has barely played with them this season. But kind of interesting that Michael Wong is there. And they also have Murray Zigomanis, who's out with an injury. So, that is a huge luck for our team that Zigomanis is injured. Hopefully it's for the entire series, because that guy's probably one of their best goal scorers, I would assume. They brought him in from Tampa Bay, and he had 16 points in 20 games. Yeah, it's a pretty good player. He would probably slot in where Malhotra is, and then basically Kruger would come out of the lineup, I think. So yeah, once they get that guy back, that top six is very good. Let's take a look at that injury quickly, and then that'll be pretty much it for this episode. So injury-wise for the New York Rangers, let's see. So Zigomanis fractured his jaw. He's out till April the 26th, which I think means he's out the entire series. I hope it means that. I think it is the case. Let's take a look, and yes, he's going to miss the entire series with a fractured jaw. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Detroit Red Wings franchise mode. So in next episode, we will take it to round 1 against Damian Hamilton in the New York Rangers as we look to pull off a huge upset and go to the second round. So let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.